All right, so we want to welcome you to the first ever ISB presented Breathing Fire podcast. Today we've got several of our student athletes with us. We're going to talk a little bit. We'll see where the conversation takes us, but what we want to do is give you an in-depth look of what it's like to be a student athlete, or even just a student here at ISB. So, I guess first and foremost, I'm the host. I'm Coach Vic. I'm the Director of Sport here at ISB, and I have the privilege of hosting this podcast. And our guest today, as you'll see, we've got three of our distinguished student athletes, and I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves to the world. Why don't you guys start off by giving us your name, grade, how long you've been at ISB, and maybe what sports you play here.
I'm Tom. I'm in grade 12. I'm 18 years old, and this is my fourth year at ISB. I came in year 9, and my main sport is basketball.
I'm Bella. I'm grade 12. I'm 17. This is my second year, and my main sport is football or soccer.
I'm Josh. I've been here for 13 years, since preschool 2. I run cross country and track, and I'm 17. Yeah.
Cool. So thanks for being here. Thanks for agreeing to be here with us. We're honored to have you here at the first ever Breathing Fire podcast episode. So with that, we'll kind of jump into what being a student athlete is like here. Obviously, you've been here a really long time. What is the earliest moment you remember being an athlete here at ISB, and kind of tell us about that?
All right. So I think it started out with football. I used to play football, soccer, whatever you call it. Back in grade 4, I think we played in ICS. We had a tournament there, and the school was really good. We were really strong. We didn't lose a game, I think, for 3-4 years. So we've won every tournament then. And then my first track meet at the school was in grade 5, and I ran the 800. And then from then, it's just been, I think the athletics program here has just been getting better and better. So, more developed. So, yeah.
Cool. What is it that you remember specifically about that tournament at ICS, I think is what you mentioned?
I don't know. It's just the first time, I played football outside of school. It was the first time playing with people who I knew really, really well. So, I think just the fun that we had, playing and winning, was special.
Okay. And then for you guys along those same lines, and feel free to chime in. This is a free-flowing conversation. Your earliest memory of playing sport?
Just in general?
In general, yeah.
I mean, I always just grew up playing sports. I was just put into sports at a really young age. So, when I was in middle school at my old school and stuff, I would play, many sports. I did track, swimming, football, basketball, softball. And then just as I got older, I just kind of found the sport that I like more, I guess. So now, my main sport's football, so I play in school, outside of school, and just I really like it. Yeah.
What is it? Hold on, before you jump in there, Tom. What is it that you really like?
I don't know. I like the sport. I like the people I do the sport with. I like the game. I like just things about it. I'm very passionate about it when I play. I get really into it. I feel like personally I'm at quite a high level, so I can enjoy that at a really competitive level, for my age and everything. So, yeah, I don't know. I just really love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like you like the atmosphere, the social part of it that comes with it.
I think that's really important. When you're playing a sport, it's the social is part of it as well. What you're doing, who your coach is, tournaments, stuff like that.
And yours?
Well, I mean, to follow along with that point, I think that's, such a great thing about sport, being with everybody at different ages. And I experienced that, as a year 12 in the first season with volleyball, being with the year 9s and the year 10s and the year 11s. And I felt like I was really a leader. I was really, able to embrace that experience with everyone. And that's why probably one of my favorite moments of being at ISB was going to Amsterdam, going for the volleyball tournament, and that it's just I just felt like I had such a good relationship with the year 9s and the year and everybody, and they were able to just connect really well. So I think that's probably.
I had the same thing because for football season 1 this year, we also went to the Netherlands, so we went to Eindhoven, and that was I'm gonna remember that tournament forever and ever, because it was the same, because I've always throughout my high school in multiple schools, I was always on varsity and stuff, so as I'm in year 12, I was able to be a co-captain for the team, and I was able to kind of like, I don't know, do those things that I always looked up to other players doing when I was younger. So I was able to make those connections with like year 9s and like help new people on the team and like, I don't know, make cheers and just make the atmosphere better. And that was also like really great, like being that leader and like kind of the other side of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jonathan or Joshua, so let's make this clear real quick. He's got a younger brother who I teach, who's Jonathan. So I'm going to look at you and constantly think, Jonathan, sorry, I'll apologize now for the rest of this episode. No, because Jay is still the same thing.
Jay.
Josh, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been running cross country and track at the school since grade 6. So as the first year I could join, I did it. So it's been nice, like especially in the first 2 years, I believe, like we ran with the high schoolers in middle school.
Okay.
So then we had just a massive team and we all go to tournaments and stuff, and I believe that was really fun. Like just because learning from people who are more experienced and then learning like how to do it like really helped me improve.
Yeah. So, we talked about the social bit, and that's clearly a big part of, not just team sport, but individual sport. You run cross country and track. And then, Bella, you mentioned about being able to be a leader. And Josh, you mentioned about looking up to people. Who were some of the people that you remember looking up to when you were younger athletes? It could be somebody here specific at school that you saw here at ISB or at your old schools. But as a young athlete, who do you remember looking up to, and what was it about that person that was like, wow?
I always remember when I was younger, for some reason, I always idolized like the big kids. So when I was in like 9th grade and I was like a freshman, I was going in to varsity and I was terrified. I was in tryouts. I was just so scared. And it was all these 12th graders and they were all just massive. And like now that I'm one of them, I'm not that scary. So I was so I was trying to like not be so scary and like try and be like welcoming and stuff. But I always like, it was like the big kids. I was like, wow, they're so good. Like I want to be like them. I don't know, everything about it, like their gameplay and stuff too. Yeah.
Anything to add there?
Oh no, same. I'd say the big kids too. I mean, particularly because like I had friends in my year who had older brothers, older sisters, and so I was already pretty good friends with them, and because actually back then I couldn't play varsity in year 9. But they were all in varsity, and I was like, I really want to be in varsity, and they just seemed like it was just such an experience, and so I guess that's probably.
So one of the things I don't know if people understand this or even think about it. We talk about leadership, and you talk about you mentioned it specifically, looking up to them and learning from them and seeing them and wanting to be like them. There's no handbook on how to be a leader, right? And so sometimes we have to look at things as what I don't want to be. I don't want to be like that. Yeah. I do want to be like that. Yeah. Can you give me some examples of some things that you saw that you were like, yes, I'll put that in my toolbox. No, I'm going to make sure I don't ever put that in my toolbox, and how that's kind of shaped you and your leadership styles today?
I guess, so one of the things that I learned from like multiple people, especially there was this kid, he went to the school here. I think he graduated a year ago, Thomas Dugray. He's a fantastic athlete. So what he taught me, like one of the main things that I got from him was, being committed wholeheartedly and not like, even if you don't feel like training that day, just going out, and because something is better than nothing. So I try to embrace that philosophy in my training, and just, even if I really, really don't feel like it, just try and go out and do something.
Yeah.
I always got like an attitude. Like I think it's so important to like, even if you're losing, you still like, like as a co-captain, like you still have to like encourage the team, and like even if I'm upset and disappointed with the loss, like you have a team to kind of like, and they're looking up to you in a way, and like you kind of want to represent them, like even if they're not like just individually, that's what you kind of want to do. So like if you're losing, you want to like stay positive, or like before a game you want to like get morale up, and like it's just like small things like that. Like I don't know, when you're warming up, like have some music to like hype the team up or something, and just small things that can help.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the biggest thing for me is since I started playing volleyball. I never played volleyball before since I came. And I reckon, even since you were my coach, I reckon the biggest thing that I took on was encouragement. And particularly because, volleyball, it's quite it's weird in the terms of it's team, but it's really individual. You know, if if one person's down in your team, the whole team's down, and it kind of collapses like that. So I think that's where I really took, like that quality of encouragement from, and that's also, been passed across into my basketball teams. And so I think that's, and something that has a fine line with something that you kind of don't want to be, which is bossy, and
Right.
Yeah.
and so I guess that's an important thing. So
Yeah, bossy is usually perceived as negative,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
but
think
with
so.
running, like it's an individual sport. Like there's an aspect to team, like especially if you're training with them often.
Yeah.
But you, like, to a certain extent, you only have yourself, so you have to be able to push yourself, especially when things start getting hard. So that's something that I'd had to learn for myself, because no one can teach you that, right? Like when things get tough, you cannot rely on anyone else but yourself. So, like, yeah, pretty much. That's just one of the main things that I took away.
Yeah.
So now we're going to shift gears just a little bit, and talking about pushing yourself and the discipline, right? That's what that boils down to, is
Yeah.
self-discipline. Here at ISB, we offer the diploma program, which is one of the most rigorous curriculums on the planet. For the people listening, if you're familiar with it, for the people who are listening and aren't familiar with it, it's world-renowned. It's recognized by universities all over the world. How do you find balance between your sports, because all of you do at least 2 sports or have done 2 sports during your time in the diploma program, and balance that with the rigors of class? So how do you kind of go with that?
For me, like, I kind of just look at my priorities at different points in the year. So at the beginning of the year when it's football season, like, football is my priority, and like I make sure, like, I'm very committed. I'm going to every training, like I'm going to every game, etc. But then when it becomes into exam season, like, something's got to take a toll. And for me, like, my academics in that sense, especially when it's like in exam season, like, those results are super important to me personally, so then that takes priority. So you can kind of have a balance, and like you can still, like, I still like go to trainings and stuff, but like I don't know, like for me personally, like I'm not going to do a season 3 sport, because then that's going into like final exams, and then that's for me like what the priority is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like when you think about that kind of balance, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
it's all about like proactivity, and that's what I found. Like, because playing sport is, I'm not gonna say no to a season of sport. But, I think it's about proactivity. Knowing, being efficient. What you have on and stuff, and anyone can make it work. Anyone can make it work if you understand how your time works, and being like, okay, I have this deadline, I have this training. You go to training, you go home, you be efficient, you get that work done, and I guess that's probably one of the main things that I took away from that kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with Tom. It's just about finding the time to get all the things you have done. Because running for me is a way that helps me de-stress. I'm sure you guys would agree, like, sport helps you just clear your mind a little bit sometimes. So I don't want to give that up, like, even if I'm completely stressed. So I try and go do that, and then I realize, okay, I have this to do and this to do, so I'll find these times to do it.
Yeah.
I also think like motivation goes with that. So even though I'm not doing a school sport, I'm still playing sports outside of school. So I play football all year round, and it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, do I really want to go to training? But then I'm like, I remember that during training and afterwards, I'm gonna benefit from that, because it's like getting that exercise is important. It's like for your brain, and again, like the social aspects. Like you see your team members. Like when I walk into training, and it's like, oh yeah, happy to be back. Like all of that, and it's like, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that people forget. We talk about health, and health has different components to it. There's social health, there's emotional health, there's physical health. People tend to lean towards just the physical side of things. And you guys just mentioned the mental and the social health side of things that it comes with playing sport. So, one, congratulations on being able to do both. I know there's a lot of people out there. I've been in a lot of different schools where you can't do both. You can't do the diploma and play sports at the same time. I'm sitting here with 3 people right now that can do it, and this is just a small sample size. With that, you talked about efficiency being proactive, using it to help yourself. What are some of the challenges that exist?
I think like just obviously like time, to be frank. Like if you're training like 5, 6, 7 times a week, if you're training at a really competitive level, then obviously you have less time to do your academics and stuff. So even though it's about like being proactive and like, you know, just putting your head down and like doing the work, it's still hard to like accomplish that, I think, like mentally, and like you're just exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, like as you know, even when you play, I feel like, you know, because I've had this experience because I used to play 5 times a week, and I had to stop that because, you know, it actually just got too much. I wasn't able to, you know, go to school training, then go to outside of school training, and then still get home to complete work. And maybe if I was a little bit behind, then I felt bad if I was missing training, and it was just too much. And so you got to kind of make that decision and be like, okay, I'm happy playing school sport. I can still have fun at training, and I'm not stressed. I can go home, get my work done. But, you know, when you miss out on sport, you actually realize that you're not any more efficient than you were.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you go home and you're like, well, I'm not doing anything. Like,
I could have been at practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
It's like at my old school, so the varsity teams, they would train 4 out of 5 days in the week for 2 hours. And like, well, I was there in 9th grade and then COVID, but like I would always look up to like the DP students, and like I was like, wow, like they're going to every training, they're going to every game, and then it's like games every weekend too, and it was just like, it's very impressive. Like
That's how it was in my old school too. Like so many of our DP students played sport and just kept doing it. And it's because of what you were talking about. They're like, well, am I really going to study for this hour and a half or for this 2 hours? No,
exactly.
I can go be socially healthy and mentally healthy and get that out of me. So, you know, one of the things I share with my like personal project kids, and we talk about it in my house, is there's 24 hours in a day, right? And so if you break up the day into 30-minute chunks, you've got 48 blocks. Now, what do you do with your 48 blocks? Now, that's up to you. Each of you decides what you do with your 48 blocks. So you're going to block off 16 of them for sleep, right? And then you're going to block off another 16 because you're in school for those 8 hours. Now, what are you doing with the other blocks in the day, right? And so I know that's something that's helped me as a busy professional. I'm sure it's helped some of my personal project students kind of manage their time in personal project, because that's that first kind of level of, that's like that pre-DP thing, right? Do you guys have any tools like that you might use to kind of help you stay efficient? Because it sounds like most of you are pretty efficient with what you do.
I mean, like when you say that concept, like it's there's this thing that I've seen before about, you know, if you had I think it's something like $86,000 in your bank account in one day, and you know, and how would you spend that over your one day, and then however much you spend, it would be reset the next day. And so it's acting like your seconds in the day. And when you think about it, it's gonna be reset the next day. So I think, you know, going along with that, it's just about, you know, finding time, and as I said before, the efficiency aspect, and, you know, being able to understand, like, am I actually really working well right now? Like, you know, do I need a break? Do I need to, you know?
Okay. I was gonna say, like, it's important. I think like balance is like just crucial, and like even if it's not just like a sport academic balance, it's like personally I like to like watch TV and movies and like read books and stuff. So it's like when I'm working, I'm like, I'm really not efficient at all right now. What can I do? I actually do need to take a 30-minute break right now and just like watch some Netflix real quick. or like location wise, if it's like I can't work in my bedroom, like should I go to the library? Like where am I gonna be more productive?
Yeah, I've just had to shift some things around to like fit everything in the day. So I've done stuff in the morning, like exercises and whatnot in the morning. Then I have the afternoon free. And if I let's say I run in the morning, then I feel more energized during the day. So that gives me the motivation to be like, okay, I'm not going to have to do this later, but I have this time now. So I might as well use it efficiently, like with, as you said, with the chunks. So like I block things off in my calendar, saying I'm going to do this now. So then I don't get like distracted.
Yeah, no, that's great. And those are tools that I think our listeners probably, I'm going to guess our listeners are your peers, at least to start. And then that's valuable info for them as they come up and become older, or maybe they're struggling right now and they need a little bit of guidance. So that was great feedback there. So now we're going to mesh this with sport, this topic right now. Season 1, you guys mentioned Eindhoven, you mentioned Amsterdam, you guys were in Geneva or Vienna. what does that look like on a weekend? You go away for a tournament. It's a huge tournament. School doesn't stop. Teachers expect deadlines to still be met. Do you work while you're away? Do you try to work? Is it too difficult? Because what a lot of people don't understand is those tournaments, if you're not playing, you're recovering because you got to play again, right? And so it's not like you play and then you get to hang out for an hour or two. Like, I don't think people understand that. So how does the discipline, the student discipline, the academic discipline, match with your passion for the sport and the competitive weekends like that? What does that all look like?
I think there's like kind of different ways to go about it. So you can either like be super productive and kind of like tackle the work before the tournament, or if that doesn't end up happening, you can kind of like do it as you go along. So like when we were in Eindhoven, like me and a couple other seniors, we had like IA deadlines, which is, for listeners who don't know, basically like essays for your classes. That's IB coursework. So we were all like, you know, on the bus doing it, and like on the plane, and then like in our room at night, we were all like just doing our IAs and stuff. And yeah, maybe not the best strategy, but sometimes it's what has to happen.
Tom's laughing about something.
No, it's because I mean, for me, I had stuff due, and I just, you know, said in my head, I had time before the tournament, and I was like, it's due, you know, the Thursday before we left, and boom, I was done, and then I could just enjoy the tournament. Right. And two of my mates had geography assessments.
Yeah, the geography one.
Yeah, the geography one.
And
geography teacher out there.
Yeah. Geography IA, bad time.
And the funniest memory is my roommate stayed up until 4 or something.
My roommate did the exact same
4,
thing.
and he took a photo with me, and I was sleeping, and he's like doing his geography IA.
I did the exact same thing. I was in a room with 2 other girls, and I don't take geography, but I remember because my friend was doing it. So 2 of us were sleeping, and one was staying up, and we woke up and we're like, how much sleep did you get? And she was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to get the balance.
Yeah, I haven't had that problem yet in grade 11. So yeah, not okay. Anyway,
I think so. The cable.
Yeah, no, but like with cross country it's a bit different because we don't have like multiple games. We have 1 or 2 races in a weekend. Yep. So I mean, but I can't work just sitting in a field like waiting for the race to start. So what we do usually, like when we get back to the hotel, dinner, whatever, we go out and then we come back and we work for an hour or 2. Because we just sit on the desk and try and get stuff done. Because I always tell myself that, I'll do it beforehand. Never ends up happening. Because like you got other stuff to do until then. Right. And then like you can't.
And that's the thing with DP too. It's not like, I only have this essay due. It's like, no, in these 2 weeks I have this essay and this essay and this essay. Yeah. So it's like I can do so much before, but then, you know, you don't want to like drive yourself crazy just trying to do it all. Like you do gotta. Yeah, it happens.
So it sounds like Tom's the outlier here. He had his stuff done before the tournament. Not quite the norm.
Nah, it's just just that proactivity.
I'm just too good.
No, it's good if you know if you like understand your time well and you say okay, it has to be done by this, and then you just put that in your head, and it's like boom, it's got to be done by this date, and that's my deadline. It's not your deadline, but
No, and I know teachers appreciate that if it's done beforehand, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and I know athletic directors appreciate that too, because
you don't want your athletes staying up till 4 a.m.
Well, that's one. Yeah, I don't want any of you staying up till 4 a.m. when you got to go compete. And then the other part is, it's nice when teachers can come to my office and be like, in this case, Tom did a great job getting his stuff in before the event. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. And it just helps everybody really when that happens. But I think teachers understand too that you do your best, or at least I hope they understand that you're doing your best. And we're lucky. We got a pretty supportive staff here, so they do well to work with all of you.
Wait, but just one more thing. Like the worst thing isn't like the deadlines of the essays that you have to do. It's the work that you've missed. Because sometimes, because sometimes I email teachers asking them a week before, what are we gonna do? They say we're gonna do this, right? And then I come back, they haven't done it. So I've spent this time working on stuff that they haven't done, and I've already done the stuff they will do. So that causes a problem, because then now I got to go back and catch up again, which is going to take me double the time.
Yeah.
Right. Then you got to be super efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you miss one day and like that's 6 classes with 6 different things to catch up on.
No, same thing. I live the same situation.
It's the same for the teachers.
Too, I know if I miss a day of work, I come back to 50 to 60 emails.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. On top of the ones I didn't answer before I left.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it completely. We're going to start wrapping this up, but I do want to give you guys a chance to say whatever it is you want to say to whoever you want to say it to. All right. And give you guys a chance to think. We'll look right at that camera in the middle when you send your message. And then the floor is yours.
Do you have a message? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I'll just, okay. I don't know. Sports is a really important thing, and I think I would fully recommend getting into sports at a young age. And like, even if you're in 12th grade, pick up a sport or do some exercise, because it really makes your life better. The friends that you make are like for a lifetime. The skills, your physical health, I think it's just very important.
Yeah, no, I can build off that. Just, I think it's important. Particularly, you have to enjoy high school too. It's not all about work, and I guess sports is a great way to do that. And as you mentioned, friendships, and I feel that you can make and even when you see them in the halls in the yard, and you're like, oh, hey, that's my friend from volleyball, and so I think that's good. Stay positive and always play sports. That's important.
Yeah. The only thing I'd have to say would be the stuff that you miss always seems like a bigger deal beforehand than afterhand. So don't end up worrying the entire weekend. Like, even if you're not doing a sport, don't end up worrying the entire weekend about the stuff that you missed. Just try and think positively, as Tom said, and just work through it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys taking some time to be here with us, sharing some insights, sharing your tools out of your toolbox that have gotten you to the point where you're at right now. Those of you watching, we will be back in a couple weeks with a new episode. And although this one was about sport, it doesn't always have to be about sport. There'll be times where we're talking about robotics or choir or MUN. So if you're involved in any of those things, I'm sure you'll be sitting at this table in due time. So be ready. Thank you once again, and keep breathing fire.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.